Have you ever wondered why the same battle keeps showing up in your life? You pray, you ask God for strength, you promise yourself that this time will be different. But somehow, weeks later, months later, maybe even years later, you're still fighting the same struggle, the same temptation, the same habit, the same weakness. And eventually, you start wondering if you'll ever truly change. But what if the reason you're exhausted is because you're trying to win a fight? God never asked you to fight alone. The truth is, God never intended for you to rely on your own strength, because your willpower has limits. Your emotions change. Your motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel strong. Other days, you feel like giving up. But God knew that. That's why He didn't leave you to fight by yourself. He gave you something greater, someone greater, the Holy Spirit. And learning to follow His leading changes everything. See, God didn't leave you to navigate temptation alone. He gave you His Spirit, not just to comfort you, but to guide you, to strengthen you when you're weak, to warn you before you step into something that will wound your heart. Because every single day, there are voices competing for your attention. One voice screams, "Open the app." Text them back. Just one more click. Nobody will ever know. But the other voice whispers, "Wait, think." That's not the path for you. The Holy Spirit rarely speaks with force. He speaks with conviction, not through fear, and not through pressure, but through a quiet certainty that settles deep within you. A gentle nudge, a quiet reminder, a warning that doesn't always make sense in the moment, yet somehow, you just know. You know when that conversation isn't healthy. You know when that decision isn't wise. You know when you're walking towards something God is trying to protect you from. The challenge usually isn't hearing Him. The challenge is listening, because His voice doesn't compete with the noise around us. It simply speaks and waits. Be honest with yourself right now. What is the one warning you are actively ignoring today? Think about how many regrets began with a warning you pushed aside. A toxic relationship, a compromise, a hidden habit, a decision you knew wasn't right. Deep down, you knew. There was a split second where something inside you said, "This isn't right." Slow down. Walk away. But you kept moving forward anyway. We've all done it. And that's why God's grace is so powerful. Because even when we ignore His leading, He never stops calling us back. The good news is, you don't have to be perfect. God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for surrender. One choice at a time, one step at a time, one act of obedience at a time. Because transformation rarely happens all at once. It happens in the quiet moments, the moments nobody else sees. The moments where you choose God's way instead of your own. And over time, those tiny decisions shape a completely different life. The help you've been searching for is already closer than you think. Because God didn't leave you alone in this fight. His Spirit is still guiding, still speaking, still warning, still leading. Maybe that's why this message found you today. The question isn't whether God is speaking. The question is, will you follow? Walk with the Spirit. And you'll never walk alone. If this message encouraged you, subscribe to the Whispers in Ink. Poetry of Faith and Hope.